Hey guys, it's Jeb here, and in today's video, Bitcoin's network reaches an all-time high of 83 million terahashes. We haven't talked about the hash rate fundamental here on the channel very much, but I want to start talking about it more. This is a very important metric that we need to keep our eyes on, and we'll be talking about why later on in the video. Also in today's video, Capital One hacker used stolen computing power to mine cryptocurrency. Between March and July of 2019, Paige Thompson accessed at least 30 institutional servers managed by an unnamed cloud computing company, compromising at least 100 million customer accounts. I don't see anyone talking about this, but that's a big number, that's a lot of people, and that's something that should most certainly be brought to the forefront of our attention. I'm sure a lot of us have Capital One accounts. I personally don't, but if you do, this is something you're going to want to know about. I also want to talk about Bitcoin miners because they've made a whole lot of money as of late, even with the rising hash rate that we can see over here. We're going to be diving into this a little bit later. And I also want to discuss why Bitcoin may not have actually broken bearish in today's video. So guys, if you do enjoy today's video, I would humbly ask you guys to smash that like button if you did. But without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. You may be wondering, Jeb, what do you mean that Bitcoin did not break bearish? Well, pretty simply, we can actually take this trend line that Bitcoin was trading above, and we could draw it like this, and we could just say, hey, Bitcoin never actually broke bearish because we have this little wick down here, we have our candlestick down here, and it actually turns out that we are still above an uptrend of support that even goes back to a touch over here. As you can see, if we move our box here for a second, you could still argue that Bitcoin is in a pennant that has not broken bearish yet, which is very interesting. And the reason that's very interesting is because I'm expecting Bitcoin to move down to around $9,500, but this throws a bit of a monkey wrench in that, and I hadn't seen this in yesterday's video. Someone in the Discord server actually pointed this out to me. For Bitcoin to move down to $9,000 is actually a little less likely than maybe we thought, because one of two scenarios is going to play out here. Either Bitcoin has set a bottom in here around $9,350, which to be honest is close enough to my like $9,100 target that we could call that the bottom, and that we're going to bounce from here, which I don't necessarily think is all that likely right now. Or on the flip side, what we could see happen is Bitcoin breaks bearish here for another bearish breakout, another leg down like we saw here. Now the reason why that makes a $9,000 Bitcoin a little less likely is because if Bitcoin breaks this major uptrend of support in the same way that it broke this one just a few days ago, then we're probably going to see a pretty major breakout, and we're probably not going to stop so soon at $9,000. We could see Bitcoin go down to around $8,700 to $8,800. And that would actually make some sense, guys. If we bring up our cross here, we can see the highs over here are represented by around $8,750, and it wouldn't be that surprising if Bitcoin fell all the way down here rather than to exactly $9,000. And keep in mind, guys, even if Bitcoin does go down to $8,700, that's still in agreement with our prediction that Bitcoin's going to come back down to the 20 exponential moving average. As you guys can see, Bitcoin normally comes down to this moving average, but every once in a while it'll fall a little bit below. It'll have a little wick down here, maybe the candle body will overextend just a little bit. It's not the end of the world if Bitcoin goes a little bit lower than this. $8,700 is right here, and if Bitcoin were to come down all the way here and get a bounce there, that's pretty close, and certainly close enough to the 20 EMA on the weekly chart to call that a bounce. So while yes, Bitcoin has had a bearish breakout, it may be that Bitcoin isn't actually done with that breakout. It may be that Bitcoin's going to have to break bearish again, and if it does that, it's likely going to move down to around $8,700 and maybe even lower to that $8,000 price target that we were discussing in yesterday's video. I'll have that linked in the top right. I highly encourage you to go watch that video if you're not familiar with what's going on here in Bitcoin. But guys, that's all I really wanted to discuss here on the chart. So let's go ahead and dive on into some news and fundamentals. One of the first things I want to touch on is that Bitcoin's market dominance is sitting at a very high level, around 69.1%. And there are calculations that you can do that factor in volume across many of these altcoins, and those calculations put Bitcoin's market dominance at above 70%, upwards of 80%. And what I'm discussing here, guys, is something called volume-weighted market dominance. Now, this is a very long article, one that I'll have linked in the description down below. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I do want to show you this graph down here. Bitcoin's market dominance has been on a gradual incline, and if you factor in the volume that goes along with the cryptocurrency you're analyzing, we can see here that Bitcoin's market dominance is actually something like 80+%, maybe upwards of 85%. And the reason that's important, guys, is because the altcoins have really fallen by the wayside during this bull market. Bitcoin's been the one driving them. Bitcoin's market dominance used to be below 40% for a time. The fact that it's so high, I think, is a very bullish fundamental because it means that most of the money is in the cryptocurrency that's always got the engine in it. Most of the money is in the cryptocurrency that is being driven by all of these other bullish fundamentals and all these other bullish developments that are going on. This is a big deal. I'm very happy to see how high Bitcoin's dominance is, not only because of everything I just said, but also because it sets the altcoins up for a rally in the future after this Bitcoin bull market is a little bit more well established. Okay, guys, moving on, I want to dive into this news story. As you guys can see, Capital One hacker used stolen computing power to mine cryptocurrency. A federal grand jury indictment of a former Amazon software engineer accused of breaching Capital One's data servers reveals instances of cryptojacking at the heart of her scheme. Between March March and July 2019, Paige Thompson accessed at least 30 institution servers managed by an unnamed cloud computing company, compromising at least 100 million customer accounts, according to a public release on Wednesday. While there is no indication Thompson attempted to sell this information, she did use stolen computing power to mine cryptocurrency. Luckily, apparently none of these customer accounts and none of this information got sold, but that's not really the concern I'm having here, and it's also not that she was using cloud computing to mine cryptocurrency. The concern I have is that she got access to 100 million customer accounts. Guys, there are only 330 million people that live in America. That's 1 in 3 people, maybe 1 in 2.5 adults in America that have an account with Capital One. That's a ridiculous amount of people. If this video gets 5,000 views, 2,000 of you may have been part of that. If you have an account with Capital One, I would highly encourage you to go and reset your password at the very least. And also, guys, this doesn't reflect very well on Capital One. It also doesn't reflect very well on a lot of other institutions similar, because the fact that she was able to hack in and get access to that much information, luckily she didn't sell it because it doesn't seem like she's a terrible person, but the fact that she was able to get access to it is very concerning. Now, one of the things that I also want to touch on is that this kind of thing is probably going to be a thing of the past relatively soon, because a lot of the technologies that we have here in the blockchain space having to do with cryptocurrency and blockchains themselves can make this kind of thing almost impossible to achieve. There's a reason why it's nearly impossible to hack Bitcoin, and why Bitcoin is one of the only pieces of code on the entire internet that cannot be hacked. It just can't happen. I'm not going to get into all the technology because this video is getting a little long, but blockchain, cryptography, encryption that goes along with it, all of these technologies can do a world of good for this kind of things to stop criminals from getting in and getting customer accounts in the future. Moving on, it seems like now is actually a very good time to be mining Bitcoin. Bitcoin miners made $14 billion to date securing the network. I would have thought it would have been higher than that, but around $14 billion. All-time revenue for Bitcoin miners has topped $14 billion, according to fresh data from coinmetrics.com. A Yahoo Finance reported on August 30th, despite the massive increase in the network's hash rate, which we'll be discussing here in a second, a factor that depresses the profitability of mining, there's still more money in the game for miners than ever before. This is the interesting one, guys. If current mining profitability remains on track, the 20 billion revenue mark will be broken sometime in early 2020. Now, of course, this is factoring in if you sold the Bitcoin the second you mined it. If you hold that Bitcoin, it's worth a whole lot more. That's why people that mined Bitcoin back in the day, they may have only contributed to $1 million of this, but now that Bitcoin's worth $10 billion or something, like fake Satoshi was claiming back during his court case. The thing I love about mining and cryptocurrency, guys, is that it's a method of passive income. You guys, if you know anything about me outside of YouTube, which frankly you probably don't, I love passive income. I love real estate. I love ways that you can put money into something and generate cash flow without really having to touch it. Even though Bitcoin mining is not the highest return, and it's also not necessarily the easiest and most passive way of generating income, it's a very cool way to make money, and I really do like mining, even though I don't personally do it myself. So this is really good news. I'm very happy to see that we're still ridiculously profitable in the realm of mining. And to wrap the video up, guys, let's go ahead and look here at the hash rate chart. We're on the 1-year chart. This is what Bitcoin's hash rate has done over the last year. As you guys can see, we are sitting at an all-time high figure of 83 million terahashes. I know that goes off screen a little bit. It does for me too. And if we turn on a 7-day average, we can see that it's just been gradually increasing and increasing and increasing. Ever since about May of this year, we've been rallying much higher. And guys, one of the reasons why I want to bring this up and why hash rate is actually a very important metric is because, as was talked about in this article over here, hash rate is very important to securing the network. The higher the hash rate is, the harder it is to execute a 51% attack. Because the higher the hash rate is, that means there's more competition. If you were to try and go to execute a 51% attack right now, let's say there's 80 million terahashes of hash rate on the network, you would need 81 million terahashes of hash rate to be able to have 51% of the mining power. Guys, you have any idea how massive 80 million terahashes is? That's 80 million trillion hashes per second. To get the mining equipment to do that would probably, I can't give you the number off the top of my head, but it would probably cost over $10 billion to do that, if not a whole lot more. So even though hash rate rallying does make mining less profitable, the difficulty does also increase. Hash rate being this high is a very strong fundamental, not only because it's securing the network, but also because it means that there is more interest in Bitcoin and more interest in Bitcoin mining than ever before. It means money is still flowing into the space. It means that people are still investing not only in Bitcoin, but also in the infrastructure that surrounds it. And it's just one more fundamental that we can look at, guys, and get an idea of how bullish Bitcoin is. And the answer to that question is a resounding, massively bullish. bullish. So guys, tell me in the comment section down below, were you happy with today's video? Are you looking forward to seeing what Bitcoin's going to do here over the next couple of days? Are you looking to short this market right now and have Bitcoin fall through the floor and buy back in later? What do you think of this hack that happened with Capital One a couple months ago? And what is your take on Bitcoin's hash rate being so high? Are you looking forward to that going even higher in the exact same way I am? We're getting close to 100 million terahashes. That will probably happen sometime in the next 2 months, and I will keep you guys updated with that as the news comes out. Anyway, guys, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video. Like I said, if you did enjoy today's video, consider smashing that like button, only if you like the video, though. Also, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the post notification bell, guys. We do daily cryptocurrency technical analysis videos here and cover the news as it breaks. I try to do live streams every single time something major happens. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to live stream this breakout as I was about 100 miles from my house the day before yesterday when it happened. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video almost. I do want to say one thing, and that is that I do live in Florida. I've never told you guys where exactly I live in Florida, but I will say this much: I should be safe from Hurricane Dorian, and all of my friends should be as well. If you live in Florida, and especially if you've never been through a hurricane in Florida, I have, I highly encourage you guys to take this seriously. It's expected to hit Florida as a Category 4. That can kill you. If you live on the coast, you should probably leave. You need to listen to your government officials. You need to do what they say because they know what's right. They know what's good. You need to make sure you're stocked up on water. You need to make sure you're stocked up on gas, but please don't be that one guy who goes and buys 200 gallons of gasoline because he thinks he's Mad Max and the world's about to end. Just be prepared. Just be safe, guys. Hurricanes kill people every single time they come through. I don't want that to happen to any of you. If you're in the path of the storm, please take it seriously. I'm not even in that much danger where I am, and I'm taking it very seriously. This is literally life and death. So guys, God bless, be careful, be safe, and let's be profitable coming into this weekend, guys. I do want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.